when I say protection, these are weapon systems. We got a budget for weapon systems that will protect our skies, will protect our sea lanes, and of course our armed services within the Philippine territory.
Mga idol at kabayan, super good news! Alam niyo ba kung bakit? Mas lalong pinapalakas pa ngayon ng gobyerno ng Pilipinas ang depensa ng bansa sa pamamagitan ng pagdagdag ng pondo sa Armed Forces of the Philippines at Philippine Coast Guard. Totoo? Oo, dinagdagan ng Senado ang pondo ng Armed Forces of the Philippines para sa karagdagang sandata para sa air defense ng bansa. Posibleng ito ay mga multi-role fighter o missile defense system. Hindi lang yan mga kabayan, 3 bagong malalaking barko naman ang makukuha ng Philippine Coast Guard na gagawin mismo dito sa bansa sa Balamban, Cebu. Wow na wow! Made in Philippines!
But we also have a budget for the Philippine Coast Guard, Karen. And with this 2.8 billion, 2.5 billion will be for 3 ships. We're going to give them 3 very large ships, as that's a down payment. And we want to build it, and we got the approval of the president, we want to build it in Cebu, in Balamban. So these ships will be Philippine-made. Of course, it's Australian-owned company, but Philippine-made by the hands of Filipinos in the Philippines.
Good news mga kabayan, mga ilangan ng karagdagang 3,000 mga Pilipino ang kumpanya para magawa at matapos ang mga barko sa lalong madaling panahon. Senado dinagdagan ang pondo ng Armed Forces of the Philippines at Philippine Coast Guard sa pangunguna ni Senate President Zubiri at sa mga kasamahan pa nito sa Senado na layuning palakasin ang depensa ng bansa sa West Philippine Sea tulad ng kanilang pangako sa mga Pilipino. Ang 2024 national budget na 5.768 trillion peso ay kasama na dito ang karagdagang pondo na 10.47 billion peso para itaas ang kapabilidad ng depensa ng Pilipinas at panatilihin ang presensya ng mga otoridad ng Pilipinas sa West Philippine Sea. 6.17 billion peso ang dinagdag sa pondo ng Departamento ng Depensa ng Pilipinas para sa Armed Forces of the Philippines Modernization Program. 2.8 billion peso naman para sa Philippine Coast Guard Modernization. 1 billion peso naman para sa National Intelligence Coordinating Agency at 500 million peso naman ay para naman sa Department of Environment and Natural Resources. Ayon kay Senate President Zubiri, ang karagdagang pondo na 6.17 billion peso ay para sa Armed Forces of the Philippines Modernization Program. Isang sandata ang kanilang bibilhin para sa proteksyon ng himpapawid ng Pilipinas, sea lanes at mga sundalo ng bansa. Ang karagdagang pondo naman para sa Philippine Coast Guard na 2.8 billion peso. Ang 2.5 billion peso dito ay gagamitin para sa paunang bayad o down payment ng malalaking barko ng Philippine Coast Guard. Para lang sa inyong kaalaman mga kabayan, ang 3 barkong ito ay maliban pa sa 5 barko na pupunduhan ng Japan para sa Philippine Coast Guard. Good news na good news dahil ang 3 barko na bibilhin ng Pilipinas ay manggagaling sa kumpanya na gumagawa ng mga barko sa Balamban, Cebu, ang Ostal Philippines. Dagdag pa ni Senator Zubiri, dahil sa 3 barko na ito, mga kailangan ng karagdagang 3,000 mga bagong empleyado ang nasabing kumpanya. Tama ang narinig nyo mga kabayan, sa atong mga igsuong dira sa Cebu, maayong balita kaninyong tanan diha dahil ang 3 barkong ito ay gagawin ng mga Pilipino dito mismo sa ating bansa. Ibig sabihin, made in Philippines. Sa loob lamang ng 18 buwan, maidideliver na ang unang batch ng mga bagong barko para sa Philippine Coast Guard. Ang mga barkong ito ay posibleng magiging kahawig ng mga offshore patrol vessel na una nang inalok ng Ostal Philippines sa Philippine Navy.
And of course, performance of these SUCs increase with additional budgets that we give them. But I would like to make special mention, Karen, of the move of the Senate. This is a Senate initiative of promising our armed services several months ago, because of the actions that are happening in the West Philippine Sea, that we have to put our money where our mouth is, as well as legislators, and help fund our armed services. And I'm happy to announce that the Senate, through my initiative and the initiative of Senator Sonny Angara and our senators, were able to add about 10.4 billion, 10,471 million to be exact, on these particular budgets for the DND, as well as the Coast Guard, the National Intelligence Coordinating Agency, the BIFAR, together with the Department of Environment and Natural Resources. If I may, to just in a nutshell, I don't want to telegraph our punches on national television, particularly those who are listening that are not very friendly to Philippine interests. But we had added about 6.1 billion to the Department of National Defense budget for protection of our skies, of our sea lanes. When I say protection, these are weapon systems. We got a budget for weapon systems that will protect our skies, will protect our sea lanes, and of course our armed services within the Philippine territory. I'd rather not give it in detail. But we also have a budget for the Philippine Coast Guard. Karen, remember when Commodore J. Tariela was complaining that they had such a small budget? Well, we added 2.8 billion to their budget. I think that was the biggest single increase in their budget ever. And with this 2.8 billion, 2.5 billion will be for 3 ships. We're going to give them 3 very large ships, as that's a down payment. And the good news, Karen, is we're already discussing a company that builds ships for Australian Navy, which is Austal, and we want to build it, and we got the approval of the president. We want to build it in Cebu, in Balamban. So these ships will be Philippine-made. Of course, it's Australian-owned company, but Philippine-made by the hands of Filipinos in the Philippines. And we're looking at they promised to try to bring down the delivery to 18 months. And I think this is what's going to happen now. We just passed also yesterday, Karen, on third reading in the Senate, the SRDP, which is the Self-Reliance Defense Posture Program, which will now allow DND and the AFP and all the other agencies of government like the PNP to purchase defense equipment that are locally manufactured. So we're going to push start or jumpstart the local production of all this military equipment in country. So it can be a foreign-owned company coming to the Philippines, setting up shop in one of our PEZA zones, building armored personnel carriers, even aircraft, and the ships are going to be done in Cebu and Cavite for fast patrol crafts. So not only will it help protect our country, Karen, but it's going to also open up tens of thousands of jobs. The 3 ships, this 2.5 billion peso budget for 3 Coast Guard ships, they're looking at employing 3,000 employees in Balamban, Cebu, in their shipyard there just for these 3 ships alone. So imagine if we do that and replicate that all over the country.
Laban Pinas.